Okay, Be'ezat Hashem, Na'aseh v'natzliach. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Lighthouse project. We're continuing our series of basics in Judaism. Before we get started with tonight's lesson, I'd like to give an honorable mention to our nightly sponsors. We have anonymously dedicating tonight's class in honor of the people that work so hard to keep the Lighthouse project running week in and week out, as well as for the Refuah Shema of Menachem Mendel Messiah Bati and the Refuah Figa Bat Reza. We also want to do this dedication as we've been doing the entire month in honor of the Azan family from Flatbush, New York. Again, the tragic death of Moshe, Yitzchak, and Henrietta, and their 40-year-old mother, Aliza Azan, who were burned to death at their home. And may this lesson and these Divrei Torah and these Torah lessons tonight at the Lighthouse be in merit of Refuah Shema of Shilad Bas Luza Aliza, the 16-year-old, Daniel Ben Luza Aliza, the 15-year-old, Avram Ben Luza Aliza, the 13-year-old, and their father, Yosef Ben Abu Masuda. May Hashem send them a full and complete recovery. And may this also be to Elu Nishmat of Yehuda Leib Steinman. Our class has its own sponsors, H&M Builders, doing this in memory of their grandfather, in honor of their whole Dornbush family. And super glad to hear the news of the new Simcha that's upcoming in this family's life. And to our special lady, our good friend, Stacy Esther Bouton from the East Coast, who's doing this in honor of her sons, Yonatan, Michael Ben Esther, Liao Ben Esther, and Sharone Ben Esther. I wish you all the best. Let's get started. You know, this series, we're about 3 lessons into it. This is going to be the 3rd one of Basics in Judaism. Tonight's lesson is right versus left. Now, if you know these concepts, it will be a review. If it's the first time hearing these concepts, it will be a great lesson to guide you in the right direction, as well as hashkafa on how you see life through Torah lenses. This is a lesson of right versus left. Is a very interesting one with many practical day-to-day uses, very good tips. And eventually you will see it leads to one encompassing concept, one klal, one rule to life. And eventually we'll answer, what's the right Jewish thing? I'm going to milk this right thing the whole night. See, the right versus the left sides of the body on an esoteric level, on a Kabbalistic level, on a Sefirot level. You know, we have the 10 Sefirot. The right versus left represents Gevurah, which is the left, and Chesed, which is the right. In other words, Din, strict judgment, which corresponds to the left side, or Chesed, which is goodness, benevolence, loving kindness, on the right. And we deal with these polar spiritual opposites within us on a daily basis. On a daily basis, we have this challenge or this duel between left versus right. Midrash Rabbah says, I'll quote it, Lev chacham li'mino ze yetzer hatov. He says on the right side is the yetzer hatov, the good inclination. Velev kesil lesmolo ze yetzer hara. On the left side you have the devil himself, the evil inclination, the yetzer hara. Davar acher, lev chacham li'mino, elu hatzadikim. Velev kesil lesmolo, elu harashaim. In other words, what Midrash Rabbah is telling us, the Yetzer Hara and Yetzer HaTov each stand on one side of the heart, trying to sway a person in their direction. You got the good angel here, the bad angel here, and they're tugging at you to go in each direction. Welcome.
Thank you.
The Midrash continues to say that Lev Chacham, the heart of a smart man, is one who studies Torah and who yearns to learn, and that represents the right. Where Lev Kesil, the heart of an imbecile, is one who constantly busies himself with money, which represents the left. There's people that are completely preoccupied with the dollar sign. The Midrash Rabbah calls him an imbecile, and actually represents the left side, the Yetzer Hara. So right away, we see that there's a deep significance to the sides of our bodies, the sides of our spirituality, and the side we choose to give power to, knowingly or unknowingly. And this is the key part to this lesson. We might be, unbeknownst to us, the giving energy to the left side, to Yetzer Hara, to the wrong kind, to Deen, when in reality we wish nothing but the best and we want to be on the Chesed side. So tonight we're going to give a little lesson of, from beginning to end, how a day unfolds when you're dealing with Chesed and you're dealing with the right side of the body. Now, you might think that your bodily actions on a day-to-day basis don't have any sort of deep meaning or relevance. Meaning you go through life, you wake up in the morning and you go to sleep at night, and in between, whatever you do with the right side or the left side doesn't really mean anything. Just being me, just being a human being, right? Not for a Jew. At the end of this lesson, you will see the deeper meaning, the importance, and the significance of the right side. One should know that halachically, the rabbis have given tremendous importance to the use of the right side. It's dealt with in the Gemara, Mishnah Berurah, Shulchan Aruch, and practically all halachic books that deal with the Jews' daily actions deal with the concept of right versus left, and typically refer to the left side as the submissive side to the right. They refer to the left side as the servant to the master. The whole idea of the left side is so it can serve the right side. Compiled in this lesson today are many good tips that one should internalize and absorb to be part of your everyday life. At times you will feel like you are reteaching yourself how to use your own body. And many times the reasons given will be eye-opening and jaw-dropping. Let's start the day. Again, what we're doing here is we're teaching the importance of the right side from the minute that we wake up to the time that we go to sleep. I try to compile as many scenarios as possible at the end, and also give the reasoning to it. At the end, I know at the end of this lesson, I found myself trying to reteach my body how to move, how to talk, unlearn my left and reteach myself the right. So let's begin. Let's start the day. When you wake up in the morning, in previous lessons we spoke about Modani, we spoke about the right way to start the day. Yeah. We spoke about the right way to end the day. Those were the previous lessons to this series. But just to skip that part, as soon as you wake up in the morning, when you get out of bed, the first foot that should hit the ground should be the right leg. It's that classic saying, start the day on the right foot. Where did they get that? Where do these sayings come from? They have a source. It happens to be a Jewish source. Later on, as soon as we wake up, the first action that we do is Netilat Yadayim. We spoke about it in previous classes. I'll give it a brief mention about the Netilah. We know that many people know that you wash right, left, and what most people miss out is that before you start that process, actually you're supposed to pick up the cup with your right hand, pass it to your left, and then the servant can serve the master. Very important that every action starts with the right. So even though we know how to do Netilat Yadayim, many don't know that the first action to the Netilah is picking it up with the right hand. We know on food it's different. On food we pick up the Natlan with our right hand, pass it to the left, pass it to the servant, and do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's the proper way to do Netilah. Now, once you've washed your hands, you got the Tum'ah off your hands, because we know that we're 1/60th dead when we're sleeping. So when we come back, we have this little bit of spiritual impurity that's on our body. And where is it found? On our hands. And as we're washing our hands, this little tum'ah jumps from the left, and then it jumps to the right, and it jumps to the left, and it jumps to the right, and eventually on the sixth time, that little spiritual impurity dissipates. And now you're able to touch yourself. Now you're able to move around without having an impurity on your hands. So typically, the next thing that you do after Netilah, you go to the bathroom. We're all adults over here. I hope you can process this correctly. But halachically, understand that everything that I'm saying now is a halacha. This is the right way that a Jewish person acts every day. And every time you do one of these halachot, every time you perform these mitzvot, you create an angel. And by creating an angel, just by the way you're behaving, you have to understand that when you show up to Yom Hadin in 365 days, you've got thousands of angels that were created just by you getting dressed properly, washing your hands properly, washing yourself properly, thinking. So many angels can get created from the process that we're doing here today. So going back to using the restroom, the rabbis tell us that you have to use your left hand to wipe, which is very difficult, especially for people that are righties. You have to retrain yourself. What's the source for that? Why would they shift us to wiping ourselves with our left hand? Well, in Masechet Brachot, this is a Gemara. It says over there on the 62nd page on the first side, a very interesting story. It says, Tanya, Amar Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is telling the story. Rabbi Akiva is a giant. And we're talking about Gemara giants over here. He says, one time I went after my rabbi by the name of Rabbi Yoshua to the bathroom. And I learned from him three things. And one of the things that he learned from his rabbi, that you don't clean yourself with the right, rather with the left hand. Rabbi Akiva, that's what he wants to share with us. It continues to say over there. I'm just going to skip around to a few parts. Amar Rabba, what would be the reason that we wipe with our left? Rabba says, because the Torah was given with the right hand. Rabba, another rabbi, Bar Chana Amar, he says the reason why is because typically our right hand is close to our mouth all the time. When we feed ourselves, what do we use? We use our right hand. It's not good that the right hand that we use to eat is also the hand that cleans. Now I know that nowadays we have bidets and baby wipes and all that, but you have to understand that back in the day it was a little bit different. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Omer, another rabbi, says, he says, why do we do that? Because the right hand ties up the hand of the tefillin for the men. So it has importance. Rabbi Nachman bar Yitzchak Omer, he says, because when we raise the Torah in shul, what do the boys do? What do the men do? Even what the women do? We point at the Torah, right? We use our hand. So it's not nice that we use the hand that we do our things with to point at the Torah. So we can't use that right hand also. Rabbi Yoshua Omer, and another opinion says, because we write with our hand. So very interesting part of the Masechet Brachot, the Gemara says that the reason that we use the left and we don't use the right, one, because the Torah was given on the right hand. Two, we use that hand to eat, so it's close to our mouth, so it's not sanitary. One, because of the tefillin, because it's the hand that wraps the tefillin. Another reason is because that's the hand that we point to the Torah. So the hand that points to the Torah should be the hand that busies itself with that as well. And writes with the right hand. It's an important hand. The hand that writes should not be the hand that wipes. So here's one reason to do that, and I can tell you that takes a lot of practice and it takes a lot of training, but it's the right thing to do. Typically, most people start their day with a shower. What's the right way to shower yourself as a Jew? Halachically, the rabbis tell us that you have to wash your right side first and then your left side. You don't just go in and start lathering up. You have to give it importance. The right side. At the end of the day, you're going to walk out of here. You're going to start favoring the right. But you'll see. You have to understand that even on our most intimate moments when we're with ourselves, we have to give importance to the right side. But there's a big spiritual meaning to it all, which we will get to at the end. So again, we start with the left washing the right, and then the right hand washes the left, and that's how we take a shower. Once we've finished taking a shower, we want to get dressed. How do you get dressed? Typically, you put on your right sleeve first, and then the left. And when you get undressed, you take the left out first, and then the right. When you get dressed, when you put on a shirt, you put on a sweater. To getting dressed, first you put your right, and then you put the left. When you get undressed, it's the reverse. You take off the left, and then you take off the right. Shoes are very interesting. Shoes, again, you have to put on your right first, and then the left. But what happens if you have shoelaces? The halacha says that you put on the right, and then you put on the left, but then you tie the left, and then you tie the right. Why? Because you have to finish on the right all the time.
And as far as socks?
I would continue. I would do right and then left.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. It's become such a part of me now, Baruch Hashem, with my children. That's what it is. You pass it on, and now the children, when you tell them right, left, right first, and then left, and then they understand that you have to give importance to the right hand side, and we carry it on to a lot of different things that later on we'll learn. When they put on their pants on the left leg first, no, Abba, you did it wrong, and they take it off in order to put the right first. For us as adults, it's almost like retraining ourselves. But when you raise children from the beginning, knowing that, it becomes second nature. Of course, I put my right leg first. I remember with my son, we went to Nordstrom to buy shoes, and the guy took out the left shoe for him to try it on. He's like, no, I have to try it with the right first. And the guy thought it was like very whimsical that the kid said that, but meanwhile, my son was performing a halakha, a right foot first.
My mother was always careful to tell us that. Also, she said to always walk into the doorway, right foot first.
That's right.
But the thing with the shoes, she would say to put the right shoe on, the left shoe, but then tie the right shoe first and then the left shoe.
It's the opposite.
I know, but she always told us right first.
It's completely the opposite. You open up Shulchan Aruch on how to start the day. It's right there. When he goes to the shoes, he's very Rabbi Vad Yosef and Mishnah Bua is very specific about the tying of the shoes.
Well, maybe this is an Ashkenazi thing.
I'm not disputing. It's just that's what my mom.
That's what's going on at your house.
Since I was 2 or 3 years old, so before I could even tie shoes.
Now, once you're woke up, went to the bathroom, showered, get dressed, the time to leave the house. You should know that when you leave the house, there are 11,000 angels around you waiting to get activated. There's 1,000 on the left and 10,000 on the right. And we learn that from a pasuk from Tehillim, from David HaMelech, that says, "Vervava miyiminecha elecha lo yigash." What do we learn from that? It says that on the right side, look how many angels we have. 10,000. And these are protective angels. And they're all waiting to get activated according to our actions throughout the day. So the question goes, why would the left side have so many less angels? We would think that the left side is the bad side, right? It needs a little bit more protection. But very interesting, because the men, which are 90% of the men in the world, are right-handed and not left-handed. They put on their tefillin on the right hand. And because the men put the tefillin on the right hand, it has such kedusha, it has such a high elevation of protection that it only needs 1,000. Because the tefillin takes care of that side. So,
You mean, wait a minute, you're right-handed,
I'm right-handed.
so you put your tefillin.
I wrap with my right. Tefillin are on the left.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, I was getting confused.
You should know that everything that I'm saying is the right-sided view. There are many different things that have to do with leftist. That's for a different class, and they have their own classifications. But since we're dealing with 90% of what's going on with the world, it's easier to give a class like that. Maybe in the end I'll mention something about left.
I'm sorry, so you said the right side has how many inches? 10,000?
10,000 on the right, 1,000 on the left. And the 1,000 on the left is less because the left has one mitzvah. The left side has one very big mitzvah, tefillin. 1,000 on the left. Even though we think that it should be more because it's on the left, but the tefillin upgrade that side, which is very, very interesting. So here we are. We left the house. We have these protective angels. Typically, what do? The men go to shul. They go to pray. Very, very big part of right versus left you find in your prayer. You should know this for yourself when you pray. Did you ever notice that sometimes it looks like everybody's moving in different directions in the shul? One guy turns right, one guy turns left, this one's moving forward, this one's moving backward. How come not everybody's doing everything in unison? How come not everybody knows what's the right way to turn? Here's a couple of good tips about when you're in shul and the right use of the right hand side. During tefillah, especially for the men when they do tefillin, again, typically tefillin are on the left-handed side and the right hand wraps it. And we're tying it down. Usually the men tie down 7 times. And the deep mystical secret over there is that the devil himself, the Yetzer Hara, has 7 names. And those 7 names are represented by each wrap. So every time we wrap this out, we wrapped you 1 time, and wrapped you again, and again, again. It's like we're tying him up for the day. We're trying to make him submit. And so we're tying down the Yetzer Hara early in the morning with the most holiest thing of Kedusha, with the tefillin. And once we start with that, and again, look at the left side is where we put the tefillin, but look at the importance that just 2 seconds ago we learned Masechet Berachot, that the hand that wraps, because this hand wraps the tefillin, the right hand side, how it gets all the kavod more than the left. I'll skip through certain places of tefillah. The next big thing that is noticeable right and left is Shema Yisrael. Did you ever see anybody do Shema with the left? No. What do? Shema Yisrael is always with the right. It's a halacha. Shema Yisrael you do with the right hand. If you ever see somebody doing with the left, tap him on the shoulder. I'm sorry, you have to do it with the right. If you're teaching your children and they're just being playful, Shema with the left. No. Make sure, it's with the right hand. The right hand is the one that you do Shema with. Now, this is something that is very interesting. A lot of people pray the Amidah, but a lot of people might not know this. So we got the moonwalk, right? We go back 3 steps and we move forward 3 steps, right? What's the right way to do it? Can you just do it anyway? Okay. So the answer is no. The right way to do it is right, left, right. Why? Because before you pray Amidah, you're basically thinking, I am right now in front of God. So you can't just start praying in front of God like He's your friend. Let's go, I'm starting to pray. You have to walk to royalty. You have to get a little bit closer to the King of all kings. So how do you do it? You approach the King calmly, respectfully. How? Right foot first. Good intention, chesed. And you go right, left, and then you want to finish that you're coming to pray to the King with the right foot. That's the right way to step. When you finish Amidah, you step away with the left, right, left. Why? Because you want the last foot that's leaving the presence of God to be the right foot. You don't want to leave God with the left foot as the last impression. So, quick review. When you walk into Amidah, right, left, right. When you're walking away from the Amidah, left, right, left. That's the proper way. That's the respectful way. That's the halacha way, the halachic way to start your Amidah. You want to step into it on the right foot. If you ever noticed also, we have Nagdishach v'Naritzach, right? In the Chazara, in the repetition of the Amidah, there's, after the first 3 berachot, we have Nagdishach Are you Ashkenazi here? Sephardic? Anybody knows this tune? Okay, so Nagdishach v'Naritzach, there's a part over there where it says Ve'amar Ze El Ze Ve'amar, right? You see people always bobbing to the left, bobbing to the right. What are they doing? So basically, you are still in front of the king. That's part of the Kedusha. They're telling us that we're mimicking the angels. The Malachim were talking, V'amar ze el ze. Each angel was saying to this one and to the other one, and they all together said, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. So what's the proper way? When we're up to this part of the Amidah, do I go right first or do I go left first? Well, when it comes to this part of the Amidah, of the repetition, of the Kedusha, the rabbis tell us the right way is to go left, ze, left, ze, right. Why? Because if I'm standing in front of God and I go first to the left, which means that's His right. You go first to God's right, not to God's left. So you see people during that time, everybody's going in a different direction, you should know for yourself that the right way is God is standing in front of me, I am mimicking an angel, I'm telling him, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. And when I do that, Zeh, to the right hand of God, and then to the left side of God. That's the right way when it comes to Kedusha. By doing that, think about it, just by going to the left and to the right, you performed a mitzvah, you performed a halacha, and by doing that, you created an angel. Comes Yom Adin, they're going to tell you, okay, what did you come with? What did you do this year? And you have 200 Kedushot behind you, 300 Kedushot behind you. They turned to the left first. They gave honor to Hashem's right side first. Wow! Look how many little mitzvot you can pick up along the way. We keep thinking that mitzvot, we got to do tzedakah, and we got to study for hours, and we got to do all these different things. But meanwhile, just little gestures like this, they count. These are mitzvot. Pick them up along the way. Another thing that is interesting, if you notice that people are praying, when people pray Amidah, you notice that sometimes people hold their hand like this. Right? Or they should. What's the significance behind it? We want to take the right and we want to put it over the left, and some people put it like right over here in order to say Chesed over Din, loving kindness over judgment. Hashem, I'm praying to you right now. Please, I want a good outcome over the Din, not so much judgment. As a matter of fact, in Yalkut Yosef, Rav Ovadia Yosef gives one of his halachot that one should actually intertwine his thumbs and then close over his palms and put it next to his heart. Because what are you doing? You want the chesed to be over the din. You want the goodness to be over the strict judgment. But on the inside there's a secret. What? It's all the same. That's it. Hashem, we want the din and the chesed to be the same. We want an honest world. In other words, what's an honest world? You got to have judgment in this world. A world without judgment is not a real world. But we always want a good outcome. So we tell Hashem, we know that there's judgment. But mix it with chesed, and then we say chesed over din. And sometimes you see big rabbis, and sometimes when you see them holding their hands like this, they're not cold. They're not trying to just hold their fingers together. There's a reason. There's deep meaning. That's what I'm telling you. Every little thing that a Jew does has deep meaning behind it. So when you see someone holding like this, chesed over din, next to the heart, and they're praying. And it's actually very heartfelt. And I want you to know, should you do this, and somebody looks at you, and you're really into the prayer, you know what that does? In Hebrew, it's called mechazek. Mechazek meaning you're strengthening somebody else, because saying, wow, she's connecting to God on a different level. What is she doing over there? What is this thing? And then you can explain to them, I actually want Hashem to give me more goodness than judgment. I actually want to show Him that I want a good outcome, and that I'm actually part of pushing chesed in the world. I'm part of the group that's fighting the right fight. The way your body behaves, or the way your body projects, is how you want the world to be. And we'll talk about it in a little bit. You can see that everything that we're doing now with our bodies actually has huge spiritual energy changes on the planet. We'll talk about it in a minute. I'm going to tell you a little secret. A little prayer secret. They say that when a person starts his Amidah, we all know that we have to stand straight, facing one direction. Typically it's east. However, the rabbis tell us that when a person stands straight, facing east, he could either tilt his legs a little bit to the right or tilt his legs a little bit to the left, And it means that the Amidah is completely different now. Why? Let's go back to Bet HaMikdash. In Bet HaMikdash, if you go to Kodesh HaKodashim, the Holy of Holies, on the right side was the menorah, on the left side was a shulchan, lechem hapanim, the table where they kept the 12 piping hot loaves of bread that stayed hot for the whole week. So if you walked in, here's the menorah, here's the shulchan. So they say, when you go to the Amidah and you turn a little bit to the right, to the side of the menorah, you're signifying to God. The menorah signifies knowledge, truth. The menorah signifies everything that has to do with knowledge. And you're coming to Hashem and you're saying, Hashem, right now I need knowledge. Why do you need knowledge? Let's say for someone who's studying Torah all the time, he's studying Gemara. Usually there's some hard topics. He needs some help. So the next time that he goes to pray, he turns a little bit to the left. Hashem, let me figure out this Gemara. Or let's just say somebody's studying in college. They have the bar exam. Or they're going to go be doctors. They're going to have to study for 3 months and take a major exam. So a person that goes to shul should turn to the right a little bit. Hashem, help me memorize all these concepts. Help me pass these tests. I need help from the menorah. On the other side of it, we have the shulchan that has the bread, which signifies parnasah, money. So, should a person have some financial hardships and he needs some help with the finances, so he checks himself into a prayer, checks himself to an Amidah, and he turns a little bit to the left to signify to the table in Bet HaMikdash to say, Hashem, I need some help. The mortgage is due. I need a raise in my salary. I need things to go a little bit better this year. A little bit better with my money and my finances. Please help me out. And you're doing this all with no words. Just the fact that you turned a little bit to the side of the menorah, Hashem says, I understand. The fact that you turned a little bit to the side of the shulchan, I understand. And we get this all from the Bet HaMikdash. I'll just quote it because Chazal say it. Harotze le'ashir yatzpin. Anyone who wants to get rich, he should turn to the left. V'harotze le'achkim yadrim. And whoever wants to become smart should go to the right. And what are they talking about over here? What I just explained to you. That when you check into yourself into a tefillah, turn one way or the other depending on where you are. Now, one would say, can I do the penguin move? A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Exactly. You know what? Maybe in Shachrit, pray for the parnasah, and then in the mincha, pray for the knowledge. I always opt for the menorah. Why? If you have the knowledge, you'll make the money. Okay. This is
Hashem's blessing.
It's all. Hashem is the source of it all. Hashem is the source of the blessing. Great segue, because the source of all the blessings is Shabbat. They say that the source, Ma'en Kol HaBeracha, the source of all the blessings of the entire week come from one day, Shabbat. Should you keep Shabbat the right way, your entire week is taken care of. Speaking of Shabbat, what do you do on Shabbat with your right and left? So, on Shabbat, you get another one where half the crowd is turning left, half the crowd is turning right. Some people are doing circles, 360s, 180s. Shabbat is very funny. There's certain times where you see people just like looking for direction in the middle of shul. When do we typically see that? Friday night. Friday night, right after Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi. What happens on the last segment of that song? You see that the whole congregation turns around. Right? Why? Because we're turning to greet the queen, the Shabbat Malketah. She's in front of us, right? So when you turn, how do you turn? So you're just standing straight. Do you turn to the left or do you turn to the right?
Left.
I should let you know that this whole lesson is about the right. If you want to guess the right the whole time, it's all about right will be the answer every single time. It's right. We're talking about the importance of the right side. So when you're turning to greet the queen, greet the Shabbat Malketah, look at your right side and say, I'm turning right. Not, here's my right side and I'm turning this way, and you feel like, yeah, I'm turning right. No, turning right is clockwise. Clockwise. This is clockwise, okay? And you turn to the right and you greet her. And then when you finish, right, when you're backwards, what do? You continue the circle. That's how you have to think about it. You start with your right side clockwise, and you finish the circle. Because what happens over there? This guy turns this way. When he comes back, he does like a 180. He turns this way, comes back the other way. Some people just do a couple of turns because they see everybody turning, so they're just going with the herd. But the right way to do it is, like imagine you walk into shul and I know what I'm doing. I know how to turn. I know how to welcome the queen. You turn on the right, you finish the circle. However, before you finish the circle, there's a whole, on the last side, we say, boy kala, right? And like in my shul, it's a Sephardic shul, and also it's a Moroccan custom that we bow a little bit on the right side. Boy kala to the right, boy kala to the on the left. So which right do I do? It's not a trick question. This one is the right. Again, why? Because we're facing her. We came to escort her. So boy kala, and it tells you sometimes if you really want to pay attention, next time you open up the Siddur, when it says boy kala, Shabbat Malkita, in little print it says turn right. And in small print, turn left.
But you turn right and then you turn left. Right?
I'll do it. Here I am.
But you're facing it.
Lechadodi, we'll use our imagination. Lechadodi is coming to its last verse, right? And we're turning. Turn this way, right?
Okay.
So now you got to imagine me backwards. And here I'm facing the queen. She's in front of me. So I go, boy kala, to my right side. Come to my right side, right? You complete the circle, and she's escorting you. Because you know what the deeper secret is. The days of the week came to God. And he told them, Sunday has Monday as its partner. Tuesday has Wednesday as its partner. Thursday has Friday as its partner. Shabbat comes to God. God, I'm odd man out. Who's my partner? So God told him, I'm going to give you Am Yisrael to be your partner. They are going to be your partner. And every Friday night when you come into this world, they're going to greet you. That's why we turn around. She's our partner. The Jews and the Shabbat, we're a married couple. She's our kala. So imagine when you greet her, it's like we're married to a day. If you really want to think about it. So when we greet her, it's like we come and we escort the Shabbat, and the whole Shabbat is a very special day. I could do 100 classes on Shabbat if you allow me. Cool. Now, that's Friday night. On Shabbat during the day, there's some other places where we see the importance of the right side. Where do we see that? When the men go to get the Torah, what do? The men pass the Torah to the gentleman that's carrying it, and what do? Do they hold it on their belly? Do they hold it on the left? They do sometimes. They have to hold it on the right. The right way to hold the Torah is on the right side. And if they don't hold it on the right side, somebody has to tap him on the shoulder, my friend, on the right side. The Torah was given on the right side. We have to hold it on the right side. It's a halacha. The person does that, creates an angel. When we lift up the Torah to do, to point to the beginning of the parasha, what do we use? We use our right hand, and we use our finger to point to it. Again, nobody stands there with the left hand. If they do, it's the right hand. It's the right side. So on Shabbat, also some very important procedures where you have to use the right side. And this is every week. This is every day. Now, once you finish coming out of shul, it's time to eat, right? What's the right way to eat? It's not a trick question. It's the right side. Typically, anything that you want to eat, the way you do it is you grab it by your right hand. If it's a sandwich, if it's a drink, if it's a fruit, if it's a candy, you hold it with your right hand and you say the beracha. After you say the beracha that you eat it, do not make a blessing with the left hand.
Okay, I'm not left-handed, but I have a friend who's left-handed, and my great-grandson is left-handed. So, are you telling me that they're not supposed that this left-handed friend, every time that she's gonna make a beraha, she has to change normally what she will always take with her left.
So I was gonna leave the left.
For another class?
No, for the lefties, I left a little. For the lefties, I left a little section in at the end to discuss them in general, but they should train themselves to do on the right. Anyone who's a lefty, yes, pick up the food with your right hand side. You know that back in the days, if a kid was born left-handed, they tie up his hand.
Yes.
Train yourself to be a righty. Listen to this. A Kohen would not be able to serve in Bet HaMikdash if he was left-handed. It's considered...
Sure.
No, like he's pasul. He'd get canceled out. It's like a mum. He has a blemish. He's a lefty. The importance of the right hand. Now, even when we do kiddush, what's the right way to do kiddush? You know, every Friday night, everybody's doing it. What's the right hand? We take both our hands and we let the left, to serve the master, the servant, pick it up, and then to place it into our right hand, and we bless with the right hand. Anybody who's blessing with the right is making a mistake. These are basics.
Anyone who's blessing with the right?
Kiddush, right hand.
Right, okay.
Yes. Again, these are basics. For some it's new, for some it's a refresher, but it's a must that you know that everything is going to lead up to the end. You'll see that why are we doing all these things on the right hand side? It all leads to something. It all means something. What's the right way to clap your hands?
With your right hand.
Very good. What's the right way?
Told you we're gonna get it right.
The right way to clap your hand is the right over the left. This is how Jews clap hands. Very European, huh? So we always want to show the left that the right is on top. This is how we clap hands. It looks like the way people would hold it in an opera, you know, like. But that's the right hand.
Snobbish way of
Very snobbish, right? Exactly. Very good,
fancy.
Mary. But that's the right way.
Talking about the opera, didn't some ladies wear these gloves, long gloves up to here, and then they would take off the glove on the right hand and have it on top of the other hand with a glove?
Ooh,
Haven't you seen
fancy.
that?
Fancy.
Yeah.
You just made me think like of a Bugs Bunny cartoon when he put a brick inside and snack. I don't know if you ever saw that one. What's the right way to sleep? We did this in our previous classes. This is very interesting. This is something that you should go home and do tonight. The right way to go to sleep is as soon as you get into bed, at least for the first 15 minutes, halachically it should be actually up until midnight, on the left side, for several reasons. One, you're showing the left side, you're showing the Yetzer Hara. I got you today. I'm on top of you. I won. The right is on top. But at the same time, on a deeper meaning, the Rambam tells us that it's good for digestion. The heat of the liver helps the intestines digest in the beginning of the night, which also helps with back pain, acid reflux, indigestion, all these different things just on sleeping on the left. Because keep in mind, we have two of everything, but on the inside, one of each. So once it's on one side or the other, there's a big difference. But they say after midnight or before you wake up in the morning, it's good to turn to the other side for the process to finish. So on the left side is very important, at least for the first 15 minutes. Halachically, up until 12 is the best, and then to turn to the right. Now, overall, you can see that all these actions that we spoke about are highlighting and promoting the right side. And this is like the key to the fight of right versus left, Din versus Chesed, Yetzer Tov versus Yetzer Hara, or plain and simple, good versus evil. How do we see that? Our daily actions are constantly shifting the energies in the universe for the good, to the right. In other words, every time that we act out with our right side, positive energy, of chesed gets activated into the universe. Imagine there's like this scale that measures out good and bad energies. And anyone who starts to act through the right, which activates the side of the sefirot of the chesed, starts to tip the scales. Just by implementing these little routines that we spoke about, every single time you did these things, let's go back a little bit. Wake up in the morning, the right foot first, netilat yadayim, wiping on the left, washing the right hand first, putting the shirt on right side first and then left, and then taking off left side then right. Shoes, right, left, and then tying left and then right. We spoke about going to shul. We spoke about prayers. We spoke about the right way for Amidah, the right way for Shabbat, the right way to clap, the right way to bless on food. We spoke about a lot, right? That's just one day. And every time you're doing all those actions, you create an angel that you did something right. So imagine, like I said, you imagine when you do a mitzvah. Oh, when you do a mitzvah, you did a mitzvah just by living. And what does it take? It's just by you doing the right versus the left. So when you show up to Yom Hadin, you have thousands of angels saying, he got dressed properly, he washed himself properly, he cleaned himself properly, he ate properly, he blessed properly. It's easy to pick up these angels. And these are the angels that can tip the scales for each year. You might show up with I don't know how many good or bad angels, but all of a sudden you show up with thousands that are to your favor, that say, you're acting and behaving properly every day. That could tip the scale in your favor on Judgment Day. And it's easy. It's easy. In Parashat Miketz, we just passed it with Yosef. We say Yaakov, what did he do? He crossed his hands. Oh, so many stories about this crossing of the hands. But imagine, Yaakov Avinu is one of the three patriarchs. He is one of the fathers of our religion. What is he telling us a few weeks ago by crossing the hand? He's letting us know that the right, that's the power. The right, that's the bracha. The right has the importance. There's a message. We're learning about it a few weeks later, but this would have been very apropos a few weeks ago. What's the importance of the right hand? Yaakov Avinu is showing us. They could have also skipped this part in the Torah. But it was put in there to show us, give a very strong importance to the right side. The right side has powers and influence that can change our lives. When all our actions are geared towards the side of chesed, okay, you're trying to say that I want good in the world. I want chesed in the world. I want loving kindness in the world. It's who I am. I put on my pants, right foot first. I put on my shirt, right side first. Everything that I do is on the right. I want chesed in the world. So you're putting that chesed energy into the planet just by being you. And in return, it translates into shifting the energies in the world for the good. Now,
do you have to have in mind that you're doing it the right on purpose?
Yes, why not? Until it becomes second nature. I was saying in the beginning of the class, you will basically need to retrain your body for certain things. I'll mention it again. We're talking about halachically that when you go to the bathroom, you have to wipe yourself with the left hand. One of the hardest things that people have to do is to retrain themselves to do that. And we said, we spoke about the different reasons that the Gemara gave for that. You have to retrain yourself. I know that when I was paying attention to my right side, I would get dressed and I was like, oh man, I put on my left. After I put on my shoes, after I put everything, I had to take off my shoes, take off my pants, put on the right and put on the left. You feel you're crazy. Is somebody watching me? What am I doing? I got dressed. It's okay. I was like, no, retrain yourself.
With
Now,
OCD.
yeah, you start to think like, is it OCD? But then you're like, no, but that's just the right way to start. That's what the rabbi said. I'm going to do it. And after a while, it's not such a big deal at all. And I'm creating angels left and right. Easily. Left and right. Right and left. There you go. Now, even though we spoke about all this, I'd like to conclude with something that pertains to this topic, but it's completely off topic. And you know that in life, many people are concerned with being right. and also being right.
Politically correct?
Or not even. I wouldn't even say I didn't even think about it in politically correct, but most people want to be right, and sometimes they want to be right all the time. And in pursuit of the truth, or in pursuit of being right, there's many casualties that fall by the wayside. Many times when you are right, when the truth is on your side, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should pursue it. For example, in marriages, in friendships, with families, with friends, sometimes the fact that you are right and you stick to your truth and you stick to that whole thing that I have the right, in that whole process, certain things happen. By holding on to that truth or to that being right, you hurt someone's feelings. And you use strong words. And you create uneasiness, and there's a fallout in relationships, and it creates distance because you're right, right? So when you're right, that's it. No matter what you do, but I'm right. You'll see that it's not worth it. It's not worth being right. It's better to be smart than to be right. Sometimes it's better to be right and to let things go. To be the bigger person, for the sake of peace, for the sake of shalom. It's worth it. Don't be right, be smart. I can tell you that for married couples, smartest thing somebody can do. Being right, or the other person being wrong and still getting their way. It's great for shalom bayit. It's great for friendships. Even with children, sometimes you just have to let go. Because it's better to be smart than to be right. I want to quote a small little story from Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson. A little story. He says, what's the difference between children and adults? He says, children would rather be happy than right. Adults would rather be right than be happy. And it's true. Because a child, no matter what it is, you just punished him, they'll tell you, oh, I hate you, Abba, I hate you, Ima, you're the worst people in the world, how could you do this to me? But 5 minutes later, they'll run to you for a hug, because they want to be happy. Take a couple of 40-year-olds that had just had a disagreement, to the death, they're 60, they still don't know why they're not talking. Why? Because I was right. Sometimes it's not about being right, it's about being smart, about protecting relationships, protecting the peace, having the shalom rather than having the emet. And it's a weird concept to say because, emet, we live and die by the emet. But higher than the emet in God's list of things to pay attention to is shalom. Number one thing in Hashem's the world is peace. In conclusion, Be'ezrat Hashem, that this class will put you on the right track. On the side of chesed, on the good side, on the side that turns the world in favor of Yetzer Tov and weakening the leftist Yetzer Hara. And may we never forget the importance of the pasuk, Im eshkachech Yerushalayim tishkach yemini. I had to end the lesson with that. It's a very famous pasuk. It's a very famous saying. If I forget Jerusalem, I'm going to forget my right hand. Again, there's that right hand. So important, that right hand. What are we saying over here? How important is the right hand? We just spent an hour talking about the right. But as a Jew, you should know just how important the right side and the right hand is to us. That's how important Jerusalem is to us. When we say, may we forget your right hand is your skills. It's everything that you are is your right hand. Everything that you do is your right hand. He says, if I forget Jerusalem, let me forget everything that I know how to do. Imagine you wake up and you don't know how to do anything. Why? You forgot Jerusalem. Jerusalem is an integral part of every Jew's life. Remember it. Remember it like you remember your right hand. Just like we trained ourselves right now to remember how to do everything on the right. And a little footnote, don't forget Jerusalem too. It's like an extension of your right hand, Yerushalayim. And
That's
it's also
really beautiful.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's also brought by Chazal there's a concept that says chesed ibaneh olam. Benevolence, good deeds, kindness, that's what builds the world.